I don't want to alarm anybody, but it's entirely possible I am live. Just checking out some things real quick. Hopefully, y'all should be hearing some smooth jazz right now. Jesus. According to my dashboard, it's been a year since I've done this. I can't believe it's been that long. And my channel's just been sitting, man. I mean, it's been a year. Can't say it hasn't. Oh, there we go. There you are. Should be ready to actually go live at the top of the hour. I do apologize. I'm having ghosts. Why am I having ghosts? That's a good question. Why are you like this? Jesus Christ. Okay. So that was messed up. I don't know what it is. Studio mode causes problems. Um it's very annoying. Anyway, it's the top of the hour. Ignore the fact that it's 2 minutes past the top of the hour. Just ignore that. It's fine. Everything's fine. Damn. So my channel page says that I have not done this in a year. I don't know whether or not I believe that. Let's see here. Let me check this again. Window. Oh, you're right. Yeah. It's more like 6 months ago. Okay. That makes more sense. I remember that. Oh, dear. Excuse me a moment. Ugh. My body's aging. Yeah, Jesus, what have I been doing, man? What have I been doing? So, something I suppose is that these streams that see exist right now is me rapidly flailing around with other ideas, trying to land on something that, trying to land on something to do that I actually like doing and is worth doing. All while ignoring things that have brought me some monicum of success in the past. It's great. I love it. I mean, that really is the trick. Um, Finding a balance between what brings success and what you want to do with these channels. Enough bloviating. Anyway, this is the latest experiment here. I'm doing a webcomic, folks. They said to me, "Don't do a webcomic." I said, "Why?" That seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. It's because I've been toying around with doing like various different types of projects, you know? I'm doing those Lego I did those Lego videos, which man, I never that's a project that I never finished. I want to go back to that. I want to restart that, which is a bad idea. It's a very bad idea, but I want to do it. Um I had other things and it's just like I had to manage burnout and lack of interest because if I was more of a cynical bastard, I could have kept doing those Lego videos, but not a cynical bastard. If I hated myself more, I could have done more of those Lego videos. But it's just kind of a thing where, I sorry, just closing up something else real quick. You can tell I'm really good at this streaming thing. What was I saying? Yeah, no, if I was more cynical, I could have made more of those Lego videos, but it's a thing where, like, my actual enjoyment of that process and um, what that process does for me, it's just not working. It's just not doing what it needs to do. It's it's a it's a cul-de-sac of an activity. If I was going to make it my main thing, if I was going to base my channel around it, yeah, it's worth it, but that's not the case. That's not what I'm trying to do. Trying to do other things, and it's like I gotta make my channel about those other things, because otherwise, what am I doing? I'm being disingenuous, aren't I? I ain't a whatchamacallit. Minecraft, not Minecraft. Everybody's a Minecraft YouTuber. That game is everywhere. But what I ain't is a Lego YouTuber. That having been said, I like one of the things that broke the momentum is there was a bunch of problems with the whatchamahoozit. The mechs that I had done, I had just seen the problems in the designs, things I didn't like stack up, and so I went back and I did a sort of a version 5 redesign, and my plan, honestly, at some point, is to like make the version 5s upload them as a full build video, not do the parts thing, because that was a cynical ploy. Um, Upload them as complete builds. That's the series. That's the playlist. Honestly, delete the old versions, which that's the mistake, because I'm taking the most successful videos on my channel and deleting them. Which it's weird that those are the most successful videos on my channel, and that's not necessarily something I like. You know, so to a degree, good riddance, but I am doing something that I very much should not do. If I do that, when I do that. All right. So, what I'm doing now, I should talk about that. So, like, what I need to do is actually reflect my channel artwork I channels content around my actual core competencies and the things I'm trying to actually do with my life. Um, and I say core competencies because, like, the core of what I'm trying to do um, is art and writing. And I'm not good enough of an illustrator to really front the visual artwork as the main thing. And I'm honestly not trying to be. I, at some point, will probably take on some more like illustrator training and get better in a way that's accelerated and elevated from what I can just achieve by futzing around, which is what I currently do. This is futzing. This is futz core. It's a horrible thing to say, but ignore that random shifting. But yeah, visual art on its own, it's not my forte. You this PNG tuber thing that you're seeing bounce up and down as I talk, I would consider this pretty top tier for what I'm capable of. Maybe you like it. I'm looking at it being like, I can't make a living off of that. I can't make a career off of that. That's not what I'm trying to do. The essence, the sauce, right, is the story in the ad. Using the ad to tell a story. Uh, which sounds way more pretentious than it is. I'm doing a web comic. That's there's no two ways about it. Here it is. You're looking at it. Sorry, adjusting something. If you've been on my Blue Sky, then you've already seen issues 1 through 3. I screwed myself over because I have the first like 13. I have the first like 14 issues planned out already, and so I've kind of I've put myself in a corner because one of the beautiful things about a web comic is you can just do whatever the hell you want. You do whatever the hell you want. There's no need for continuity. There's no need for logic and sense strip to strip. You can do completely different characters from one to the other. You got a lot of freedom within those 4 panels as long as you maintain some sort of consistent brand, some sort of consistent sense of humor, and you cater to the audience that you've built. You know what I'm saying? I decided to go with a premise that's long and complicated and long and complicated and takes 14 pages to set up. So, now I got to do them. I got to do them before I get access to that freedom to just futz around and do whatever. But nevertheless, here we are. What's the story of it? Oh, you're going to have to read to find out. Sorry. Not going to reveal that in a live stream. Nor am I going to reveal the text in the live streams. That's why all the bubbles are blank. I got it blocked out? Sure. You ain't seeing it. I'll tell you that much. That's the stuff you got to read to find out. But yeah, that's the slog, and that's the content. Because, like I said, my strengths are in things like writing and dialogue, are in things like characters and story and plot and world building and all that crap. So, what matters is coming up with a way to get that across to people in formats of media that they consume that I can actually do. Because you get $1 million, you can make a movie. I don't got $1 million. So the question is, how do I make video content that appeals to people, that I can put on my channel, that I can produce with relative ease? And the answer was a webcomic. It was staring me in the face for a while. I just had to find it. I'm currently obsessing over his clipboard. This is the original position I had it in. And you can see my cursor's really small, but you can see that, right? Look at that. It's jangling. I originally had it over here. I'm like, that's off center. I don't like that. So I shifted it over here. I like this move. But it's a question. I'm hoping that this face is what people are more focusing on. Look at that. Get a load of that face. I'm kind of proud of the facial expressions here. These are good. I like these. I don't know. You find something you love in everything you do, even if it's crap. Man, I'm really fucking self-defeatist today. I don't know. I don't know why I'm feeling good. I guess it's just that this entire channel's been languishing for 6 months. They've been a productive 6 months in many ways. But my focus shifted like it always does. And what's nice is that these days when my focus shifts, I'm able to build over time. But it still shifts, and something languishes for months that I could have been working on. It's been the story of my life. Now I'm getting too deep and philosophical you know? But yeah. So, this one is number 4. You could tell because it says number 4 up at the top. Look at that. See that? This is number 4 right there. I don't know where the cursors are showing up now. Oh, there we go. Number 4 right there. Look at that. Look at that. So now we got to move on to number 5. Because that's the one was actually further along than I thought it was. Right. So, the thing I got to do. Un momento, por favor. Look at that. It's all Spanish-like, what I said. Yeah, I gotta mask out the text on the next one real quick, because I didn't do that previously. The idea here is, if it ain't obvious. You get the pictures in the preview streams, you get the pictures in the whip, but you don't get the dialogue, you don't get the story. There's a lot you can tell from just the pictures, but you want the dialogue, you want the story, read it on my Blue Sky. That's where it's hosted right now. Eventually, I'm gonna have it on my website. Eventually. But I gotta sit down and do that, which I'm not currently doing. And man, of the many things that I've been learning over the past couple of months, one of them is definitely um, the need for self promotion. It's an annoying thing on the internet that, nobody else is your cheerleader. You really gotta be a self obsessed piece of shit. It's just the way the game is played. And we wonder why there's so many high powered narcissists running around these days. But yeah, it's a skill. For instance, if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that I've been working on an audio drama project. This is mess, so let's get it back on screen. But bam! Wait, hang on. But bam! Look at that! Look at that! I'm a freaking YouTubing master. I can do a fade transition like the best of them. Anyway, um, I'm just deciding how I want to proceed here. All right, I know how I want to proceed here. I need to make up some better character reference sheets for this project. I got some, but I kind of strayed from them immediately when I started doing the whatchamahoo's actual panels. So I got to go back in. I got to make some new ones to use because currently what I'm doing is I am just edit, copy, merged. Bada bing, bada boom. By the way, Photoshop tutorial. You can't see the drop down menu, but don't worry about it. You go to copy merged, then you go to your new project, and you go to paste. Bam! That's how you paste a bunch of layers from the old project to your new one. Photoshop tutorial. Um, yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing. This is not a good way to do reference, by the way. Everything you do is eventually get a drift. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you do is eventually get a, it's gonna turn from one thing to another. So for this one, what I got to start out with is just a more detailed sketch, not even fine lines. Because what I've done is I blocked out the next couple of comics all the way to the end of this intro that I'm doing. Um, Hang on one sec. I got to take one quick peek at the text. Oh yeah, okay. Weakness doing it without the text displayed. I got to remember the context of the emotion if I don't have it written down in the faces. Too big, way too big. Hello.
Alright, that I think that captures it well enough.
Anyway, 3 tangents ago, I gotta work on being less scatterbrained in these. I don't know how. I have no idea how to do that whatsoever. But the point is, uh, if you watch a bunch of my videos, you might have heard me make reference to an audio drama that I currently have in post production, which will hopefully be coming out sometime before the end of this year or at the beginning of the new year. God knows what. God knows which. It's the reality of working with volunteers, which is what I'm at, which is where I'm at. Um, but no, that's a thing that I did. That's a thing that is being worked on, and through this channel, uh, through the other one that y'all don't even know about because I haven't done anything with it yet. I have done nothing to promote it thus far. I mean, partially that's by design because since I'm working with volunteers, I have no real publishing date. And the last thing I want to do is have a situation where I'm promising it by this time, and then I'm announcing setback and delay and setback and delay. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. I don't care if nobody's watching. I don't want to go through that. Um, and the result is that I'm doing this project, but even though I've told people about it, I'm not. Even though I've told people about it, I'm telling anybody about it. I'm not building any kind of. That's like my main thing. That's what I'm mostly hanging my hat on. Everything I've done with this channel has been a side project. That's why they've been abandoned so much. My main thing is this, freaking audio drama stuff, and then there's another pitch Bible I'm working on for another project. That's where I hang my hat. That's where I put my hopes and dreams. You know what I'm saying? But it's this cruel catch-22, mostly self-imposed, that I'm not talking about that stuff because you don't want to give the game away too much on some long project. You want to be a little bit you want to save a little bit for when it's actually freaking done and not completely wear everybody out with it from the get-go, or at least that's what I used to think. But now honestly, you see, I made the head too big. I always do that. Look at that. Head too big. She's got head too big syndrome. Look at her. Um, not quite getting the expression. I need slack jawed amazement and alarm right here. I don't quite got it. I don't quite got it the way I want it. And unfortunately, this style that I'm going for here looks a little bit different from the side than from the the 3/4 profile that most of it is in. By the way, art hack. If you're an artist and you want to be better than me, but you're not yet, first of all, you will soon surpass me because you're actively trying and I'm just futzing around.
Second of all, if you got to learn to draw in one position, if you're learning to draw a person from one position, 3/4 profile. Okay, 3/4 profile. The that's the position my avatar is in. This position every single character in is in this frame, slightly off center, not quite facing forward, not quite facing all the way to the side. You'll use forward. You'll use all the way to the side. But if you learn 3/4 first, that gives you a lot of versatility for a lot of things, and it's a lot easier to learn the other two if you use that as a starting point. All right, I need to check something. Always gotta check things. We need to go to my deliverables. I am overly obsessed with continuity. Nobody cares but me. But nevertheless, it's good to have that kind of thing going on. But yeah, no, self-promotion. I used to think there was my default was that I thought there was some value in keeping things close to the chest, and I was letting that impact how I talked about projects I was working on in my personal life. We're in the era of boasters, ladies and gentlemen. Not in a good way. Uh, boasting is still bad, but nevertheless, the boasters took over. They rule from Palo Alto. They built the world in their image. The boasters did, and now you got to be a bit of a boaster if you want to get ahead. All right, this whole area is going to be text. This area is going to be text. So we really just have. You can see, guys, man is gesturing to the background, and so we got to have a background, but it's really just this area, right? Luckily, I think we're going to have something. The color scheme should pull the eye. This big area up here is going to be white. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm really trying to do just 4 colors in this comic to simplify things because I'm not going to come color theory to keep things neat and simple in a way that should still be visually engaging. So we got white, we got gray, we got red, we got a dark gray that's not here. But yeah. Luckily the content is surreal, so the fact that's like it's kind of freaking weird works to our advantage. But yeah, no, that's a shortcut to get around my limited skills in a hopefully engaging way. By the way, if you're a new artist, it's another tip. It's another tip. It's another tip. Be wary of your limitations. If you're trying to do a project, come up with creative ways to still, make the best of your limitations. Creative problem solving like that is one of the great things about art. It's one of the, necessity is the mother of invention. And when it comes to the art world, that's all about your limitations. What can't you do, and how do you get around that to still do what you want to do? You know what I'm saying? Uh, some of the most creative films out there. Talking about films, because film's a medium where your limitations always budget. Because films cost like a billion, bajillion, quadrillion dollars to make. Frickin', you walk across a lot in Hollywood, California, you frickin' gotta, the studio's gotta pay like, $50 billion to like 5 different guys. It's how the industry works. And if it doesn't do that, you start cutting corners, everything collapses and dies. It's funny how my accent drifts. Anyway, point is, uh, yeah, no, everything's expensive. So filmmakers got to get real creative with how they use what little budget they have. And some of the best films, at least, in terms of like entertaining audiences and making money, well, not so much making money, but, films that people respect, even if, they're not in the Criterion collection, which some of them are, is stuff that's micro budget, stuff that's like, we got to get around the fact that we have no money. That is our limitation. We gotta cut down on actors. We gotta cut down on sets. We gotta cut down on locations. We gotta just do one little thing, and we gotta do it well. We got a limited toolkit. And so you got films like Primer, and films like Saw, and I suspect films like The Lighthouse. I don't know Lighthouse's budget, but I do know that they afforded RPAT and Willie Defoe. I think his RPAT funded a lot of it himself. But the point is, they were able to use those limitations to their advantage. They were able to take their limited toolkit and come out with something more creative than if they just thrown $1 billion at the wall. When you can do anything, your limits more so become sort of a choice paralysis. Of like, I can do anything, so what am I gonna do? I think it's one of the problems of the big budget Hollywood movies. They can do anything, so the debate becomes what to do. And there's a million billion negative examples to cull from. What am I saying here? That's not the problem. What am I saying here? I'm getting off on a tangent. Problem with Hollywood is the films are too expensive. Like, that sounds like a. Excuse me. Sounds like a derivation of what I just said, but that's the God's honest truth. My accent drifts. Can you tell? I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it just does that. I swear to God, I'm not doing that intentionally. It's bizarre, isn't it? But I don't know, Hollywood movies, it's like this is like tangent on a tangent, man. I definitely cannot keep a consistent train of thought when I'm multitasking like this. Ah well, you'll suffer through it. Yeah, but getting back to the problem of like, limitless creativity. Yeah, it's just kind of like, when you have an infinite toolkit, there's no problems to solve. And so, if you one type of artist, you find other areas for there to be problems to solve, and that's where the creativity comes in. Like, you could do anything. So how do you do something unlikely that's unlikely to succeed as a piece of art for an audience? And how do you make it succeed anyway? For instance, you could do anything. So how do you do something nobody's ever done before? Things like that. But most people don't have that opportunity. They don't have limitless capabilities. They have limited capabilities. And so what do? They problem solve around that. And this is not to say the problem solving is the only element of creativity. It's just that, I personally think that it helps. I personally think that it engenders a lot of good things to look at creative endeavors as problems and challenges to be solved and overcome with novel solutions and approaches. Like, honestly, one approach I was trying with when I did early development of this that I still might explore someday, but it just wasn't working for me. So I went with something more. I went with something a little more basic. Instead of doing the colors as colors, have, excuse me, a series of stock photos where the value of the brightness of the color and the hue, the tone of it matches this 4-tone palette that I'm working with. And the idea was that every comic would be a collage of these textures, these images. I really like that as an art thing. Really appreciate other people who do that. But it's not a skill that I have. It's not a skill that I have. It's a skill I could develop. But the question is it a good idea to, take the time to develop this skill when, I'm just trying to make this little webcomic, you know? This little repository of creativity and ingenuity that I can use to kind of like something that's that I can, make and turn around on a more of a dime versus taking 2 frickin' years to make an audio drama. Really has been. I've been going back and forth. Has it been 2 years or 3 years that I've been working on this audio drama? I think it's been 2, but it feels like 3. No, it might be 3. I mean, that's deceptive because I'm not working on it the whole 3 years. This is not 3 continuous years of my life in this project. I feel like that's something that everybody intuitively understands but me. That when you say, I've been working on this for 10 years, it's over the course of 10 years. You know what I'm saying? It's not 10 years of continuous work for the most part. That's what most people mean when they say that. Of course, I'm Mr. Literal over here because of, not tested but pretty sure. And, remember his lapels looking fat. This guy's supposed to be a fatso, so you gotta draw him accordingly. There. If he ain't lied, it ain't Chuckles. This character's name is Chuckles, by the way. Are you telling me there's a clown character whose name is Chuckles? This is the most original thing I've ever seen in my life. Never seen a clown named Chuckles before in a piece of media. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I can only get away with it because it's so fucking generic that even if there's other clowns named Chuckles, I can't sue. It's like one of the clown names of all time. Do you know that clowns have eggs? They got eggs. It's the way they copyright their look. They draw their paint scheme, the scheme of paint that is unique to each clown that they do. These are like professional clowns, mind you. These are like, official clown college clowns. They go to clown college, which is a real thing, apparently. But, yeah, the way they copyright their look is they draw it on an eggshell of a preserved egg. Not a preserved egg. An egg that I don't know what the term is, but it's had the inside sucked out, so it's just an eggshell, and it'll stay being an eggshell for as long as somebody doesn't crack it. And yeah, there's a repository of eggs, clown eggs, somewhere in France. I swear to God, this is real. Unless the internet's been lying to me the whole time, like they've been lying about the Pepsi Navy. If you don't know about that one, okay, tangent on a tangent on a tangent here, real quick, and then I'll collapse in on these tangents to close out. There's a popular internet story that Pepsi briefly had the 7th largest navy in the world because they had a deal with the Soviet Union to import Pepsi in exchange for helping to export this like Russian brand of like fucking non-alcoholic bread soda, some horrible fucking communist bullshit. I say that they weren't really communists. The Soviet Union was really communist. This whole thing, but anyway, the point is, the Pepsi's like, hey, Soviet Union, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's the 1990s. You're collapsing, and you guys haven't paid your bill for your Pepsi exporting. I don't know if you remember this, the Soviet Union, but you deal with us, PepsiCo. was that we export your horrible bread soda, whatever the heck it is. You get to import our Pepsi at a cheap price, at a price that you can afford. But the trade off is that you pay directly out the nose. There's a cash settlement of this that you have to pay the Soviet Union, and your currency's in the shitter, your country's falling to shit, or your amalgamation weird thing of countries, whatever the Soviet Union's supposed to be. So yeah, no, you, the Soviet Union, have to pay us, PepsiCo, what we're owed, or we're not going to import the Pepsi. And your citizens already aren't happy with you. They're not going to be happy when there's no more Pepsi. I'll tell you that much. And the Soviet Union says, okay. Here's the deal. We poured a massive amount of our economy into a humongous global end humanity death war that, thank God, never happened. We didn't want it to happen. The U.S. didn't want it to happen. But both we and the U.S. spent a lot of time and money telling all of our citizens that the other guy wanted it to happen. So we got this massive stockpile of weapons and warships and all this crap. Why don't we just, like, our money's useless. Why don't we just give you a bunch of warships? We'll just give you a bunch of warships. You can resell them, and that'll be the payment. That'll be the way that, you make your money, PepsiCo. And PepsiCo's like, actually, you know what? We'll take it. And Pepsi became the 7th largest navy in the world, briefly, until they sold off the ships. That's the way the story goes. It's BS. It's a lie. The internet lied to me. Can you believe it? Never happened before. I have retold this story because I assumed it was true. Because that's the thing. There's a type of absurdity, okay? There's a type of stupid BS that is real, okay? The world is a certain type of stupid, and that seems like the certain type of stupid that the world is, but no, it's not. The reality is that a lot of that is true, but when the Soviets said to PepsiCo, why don't we sell you warships? PepsiCo responded, what the hell are we going to do with a bunch of warships? Yeah, I know we could sell them, but you got to understand the Soviet Union. We're PepsiCo. Do you have any idea what's going to do to our public image if people open the papers and read PepsiCo, 7th largest navy in the world? Do you have any idea how many, frickin' clickbait or the 1990s equivalent of clickbait journalists are just waiting around for a story that easy to write and that frickin' silly to slide across the desk so they can make cheap money and go back to doing 90s cocaine? Like, we're going to be up to our necks in negative PR if we're suddenly the possessors of a bunch of Soviet warships and submarines, which we then have to sell off to third world Lord of War dictatorships in order to make our money back. Do you understand the Soviet Union? Not to mention, how the hell are we going to sell them? We're PepsiCo. We don't have experience in selling Russian warships to third world tin pot dictatorships. How the hell? We're going to have to hire consultants. We're going to have to do a whole bunch of market research. It's going to eat into our profit margin, the Soviet Union. And so the Soviet Union's like, okay. We see your point, okay? We still got a lot of ships lying around, not just warships, okay? And the warships are refittable. So here's the deal. We're gonna give you something that you can use, okay? You can't use warships. You're not the Pepsi Empire. You're PepsiCo. So why don't we make tankers for you, okay? Soviet tankers. They're reliable. They're rust buckets full of holes, but they're reliable rust buckets full of holes, okay? Okay, PepsiCo. We'll design these ships for you. When I say design, we'll go to a scrapyard. We'll find some, fucking rusting hulk, and we'll get it at a mothball for you, PepsiCo. We'll fix it up. We'll give it to you. It'll be free. It'll be useful to you, PepsiCo. Okay? And you can't sell warships, but you can sell regular ships. You can pawn these off if they don't work out. And PepsiCo's all right. We'll do it. The Soviet Union. We'll buy these tanker ships from you. These hypothetical tanker ships. And then the Soviet Union said, I can see the light. I can see it's coming. Oh my God. And then the Soviet Union collapsed. Yeah, so then Pepsi never got their tankers because the Soviet Union full on collapsed, and the Russian Federation's like, we're not the Soviet Union, so yeah, no, we don't have that deal with you anymore. Also, we don't owe you those ships anymore. Bye. We're gonna go conquer Chechnya. Bye. Um, yeah. Anyway, that's what happened. I forgot the other two tangents that this collapsed in on. Um, internet lies. I know the last one. The last one was the more important one. I'll forget it. Yeah, do you see the problem with me doing tangents? Are you starting to see the issue? How do you stay on task when your brain is like, what if we just go to something that we find amusing? Always. I take drugs for it. This shouldn't be an issue. I take legal drugs. I'm not even the restricted ones. I take other ones that are like way more chill, that are not the ones you're thinking of for this. But nevertheless, it's early in the morning, and it's not like my mind completely stops wandering. It's just that, it could come back to where it was usually. Sometimes I forget what I was talking about. Anyway, but yeah. Oh, right. Jesus, timing. Um, what I was talking about is the fact that like this project that you see me working on, I'm like what I've been trying to do through this channel is have some sort of ongoing creative side project that doesn't take a lot of time to produce. I can put out on a continuous ongoing basis. That's kind of a thing for me to show the world that isn't the projects that take 2 to 3 years from conception to completion, which I hope they take faster. I hope they take faster in the future. I hope they are faster, and I can have money to pay people. Because it is really gratifying to have had the volunteer interest I did on that on the audio drama, but like, you know, it's, it's not fun to know that, like when I'm working with these people, I'm costing them money, and it of course tempers how I manage the project. I'm not going to keep them for as long as I would if I was paying them. I'm not going to give them as many notes because that's going to add time. There's like a lot of things that I'm not going to do. I'm gonna cut a lot of corners and make do with a lot of what you call it, compromises that don't want to make do with, because it's not fair for me to demand these things when the people that I would be demanding them from are not getting anything in return because I can't pay them, right? But nevertheless, people knew that going in, that it's something that I upfront said to people in like the description of the project and in the volunteer stuff. And I'm not the volunteer stuff, the end the audition process, and made very clear. There was a little bit of confusion because they didn't word things properly, but the point is that everybody, like, by the time they were done with the audition, knew exactly what the deal was. And I am very glad to have had all the interest that I had. That being the case, people were genuinely interested in the project, but 3 years to produce something that took only a few weeks to write and only a few days to record, that sucks the life out of you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because the turnaround for this project should have been like a few months tops. Because we're talking about like an hour. We're talking about only audio editing. Not to say that editing doesn't take a long time. Editing is usually, it's like half the budget. It's half, if not more than half of the time But that having been said, didn't take 3 years by any stretch of the imagination. There's no part of the process that took 3 years, but it's just the fact that you're working on it in between other things. You're working on it when you have time. You're working on it when you have the space and the money to just do something that isn't going to make you anything because it's volunteer work. And that's that's what I had to schedule around for all my actors. I had to record them separately, right? I didn't want to do that. There's people that do that. There's people that pay. This is something that really gets my goat. And this tangent is going to be the last thing. This is the progress we've made in an hour. Probably because of all the tangents and the yapping, but I don't know. I shouldn't be too who's it. No. So this is something that I've heard. This is something that I've not confirmed, but it genuinely does seem like there's some directors and producers making things like audio dramas who will just send the lines to an actor and just take what they get back on a not sitting with them in a live chat, not listening and directing as they go, but just sending and receiving. And it's like, how the hell are you supposed to like, how the hell is that supposed to be anything, man? How is that supposed to be anything? I mean, the thing is, I say that, I only did very minimal notes. Just because, first of all, the actors are giving good performances. Second of all, I'm not trying to keep them too long because I'm not paying them. But nevertheless, you want to be able to listen to what they're doing, and when they're doing something that is radically different, correct them in real time. You don't want to be having this back and forth over days to weeks for the original principal recording of a line. That's what I'm on about. And I would love, even if it's over a Discord call, to get everybody from the cast in the same recording session. Even if it's over a Discord call, so people could play off of each other. I ended up doing some MacGyver stuff to make something resembling that happen. I don't even know if it was a good idea, but I tried it. But yeah, no, the reality is you can't really ask people to do that. You can try to get them in all in one place, all in one day. I almost got that, except for one person had to bow out. But it's like, them's the breaks. I'm not paying you, I can't request your time exclusively. If paid work comes up, you got to prioritize the paid work. What am I going to do? Complain? I'm not paying you. So anyway, this all is to say that going forward, I would love to have like actual funding for projects. And what's nice about the past 3 years that I've been working on this is that I've slowly been accruing some of that money, at least seed capital for that kind of thing. Pocket change compared to the funding of real projects. But, maybe I can get my foot in the door. Maybe I can get a proof of concept made. Not for anything audio visual, mind you. That stuff's in the tens of thousands of dollars, man. It's not the opposite, mega uncheap. But comics, not this kind of comic. More long form stuff. That's in the tools. That's in the mix. It's in the milieu. Anyway. All right. It's been an hour. It's been lovely. To my knowledge, no one has tuned in, but yeah, it's the reality of these live streams. Nobody tunes in while I watch them, but apparently people watch the VODs. Uh, 19 people, something like that. I will have to think about, growing this channel a little bit. The plan right now is to get through a bunch of these, especially get through the intro period to where I can just kind of once every 2 weeks, just not every week, because I don't think I can do that because this is a side project again. But once every 2 weeks or something like that, put out some random funny little thing with some of these characters. And in the long run, also kind of do them as voice acted comics on my channel. I think that could be a nice thing. It's what this whole rambling, tangent-filled diatribes have been leading up to. I think that's good future content for this channel. But for now, I'm just making it, and frankly, I'm live streaming just as a way to, keep myself regimented and have something going up on the channel, because it's been literally dead for like 6 months, But anyway, yeah, now it's time for me to get ready for work. Time for me to eat a bowl of cereal and get on the bicycle. But yeah, it's been real. It's been reality, Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Good morning. Bam. Okay, there we go. Outro. Look at that. Look at that. Wonderful. Still like that outro. Anyway. Also, screw daylight savings time, man. Screw daylight savings time. That's all I'm gonna say. Goodbye.